It's late afternoon and I'm still wearing pajamas, but let's focus on the fact that Far Cry Absolution sucks.
This is the introduction song. It's not very good, but it's not too long.
I mean, really, this book should not have been difficult to make interesting. Like, you have a fucking crazy cult that's taking over an entire county in the middle of Montana. It's kidnapping people, it's killing people, and you just have to explain how things got to this point. And it doesn't do that at all. This really shouldn't have been difficult to make interesting, but they managed to fuck it up. So a little bit of background for the people that aren't familiar with Far Cry. Far Cry is a video game series, and the newest installment, Far Cry 5, is coming out in about a week. And that game is all about a crazy cult that has taken over a large chunk of rural Montana, and the whole point of the game is just fighting to free it and get rid of the cult. Pretty simple as far as stories go, but the Far Cry games, for the most part, have pretty solid writing. So I'm excited for it story-wise, and also I just love playing them. I love all the Far Cry games. And this book is meant to be a prequel to that. You know, it's supposed to explain how the cult came to power and how things got to where they were, and it's supposed to introduce us to a couple of the characters that seem like they'll play a role in the game. And it does a really, really bad job of that. See, one of the biggest things that confuses most people who are excited for the game is that how would a cult with military-grade firepower just exist in the middle of the United States and not, like, get taken out by the National Guard? Because, I mean, if this was in a third-world country or something, it would make sense, but over here it's just weird. And so I was hoping this book would give some sort of explanation for that. And it doesn't do that. It just sort of... At one point they mention that there's something going on out east and it might be spreading to Montana, but they never specify what that is. Is there a civil war going on? Is the government collapsing? Because, I mean, the way they talk about it, it seems like the only thing interrupting normal everyday life is the cult, which is called Project at Eden's Gate, just for clarification. So it doesn't really seem like there's a civil war or any real civil unrest or anything going on. So what caused all this? How is the government not coming in and stopping this? I don't know. Another weird thing that I already mentioned is that it doesn't explain how Eden's Gate started, or how it came to prominence, or how it got so many followers. Because, I mean, there's one part in the book where you actually do see sort of how they indoctrinate people a little bit. Like, you see how they drug them up, you see how they, how the Father John is really, really charismatic and good at hyping up a crowd. And so you get an idea of how they can pull people into their world, but you never really go in depth with it, and that's what I wanted. And all of this comes to a head at a basically non-existent climax, which is not really foreshadowed and doesn't really end up anywhere interesting. It's just kind of, I don't know, it's not exciting or anything. It just sort of happens, and then the book stops. Like, it doesn't even end, it just stops. And like I said, I understand that this is supposed to lead into another story, which is the story of the game, but also, like, it's just unsatisfying. Even as someone who's planning on playing the game to continue the story, this just feels unfinished and pointless. The actual prose and writing of this book is pretty shit as well. I mean, there's literally a character which plays a fairly minor role, admittedly, but he's in the book quite a bit, and they never give his name. Actually, there's two characters, which you never get their names. There's a shepherd, or a herder, I'm not sure what the word would be, like a person that watches after sheep, right, on a farm, and then there's his son, and neither of them ever get a name. Like some of the main characters spend several days with them trekking through the woods, and they never say what their names are. They're just the Mexican rancher that doesn't speak English, and his son who does speak English and translates. That's all there is to them, and it's really, really weird and distracting. And that's just one example. Like, this book is really crappy at setting the scene, it's kind of crappy at following action, the dialogue is weird, it's just strange, really. Especially coming from a series which just has really, really good writing in the games. Although, I guess to be fair, if you're writing for a game, you don't really need to worry about setting the scene or anything quite as much, because, you know, it's a visual medium, and you also... you might not have to worry about dialogue as much, because if it's cheesy and you get good actors, then it could still sort of work, but I'm thinking back on Far Cry dialogue, and it just doesn't seem cheesy as far as I can remember. So I'm very, very confused about how it could have ended up this way. Now, I don't know if the author of this book actually has written for the games a whole bunch before or not, but if he has, what the hell happened? However, in the interest of fairness, I would like to talk about the couple of things that this book does right. Now, the closest thing to a main character in this book is a man named Will, and he's this really old Vietnam veteran who has lived in Hope County, Montana, where the Eden's Gate cult started and where it basically rules over now. And he actually joined up with the cult after his wife and daughter died in a car crash. And he's pretty much the only interesting character in this book, because we see why he could have joined the cult. Like, his life was in shambles after his wife and his daughter died, and he was also an alcoholic before that. And it's also kind of implied that going to Vietnam kind of shook him up mentally. So we understand why he would have joined up with these people. And that's basically the most insight we get into how the cult pulls people in. But we also see that he is a morally upstanding guy, and he doesn't really agree with everything that the cult does. And while he tries to help them out at first, by the end he's completely left. And that's just really, really interesting. He has a good character arc. He has a good character setup. He has a good character backstory. He has a neat personality. Like, he is this badass old dude who likes hunting and tracking in the woods, and he's really good at it. He's a really good shot, marksman. There we go, that's the word. He's just a neat character, and he's a good guy, and I was always rooting for him. So that is the one thing that this book did really, really well. And the other thing that this book did pretty well was it's short. You know, it's only 168 pages, which is, like, I think I don't need to tell you, that's about half the length of a regular book. So it's mercifully short. I didn't have to put up with it for all that long, and it took me forever to get through, but there really isn't that much content there. And there's nothing really offensive here, you know, it's just your sort of regular, run-of-the-mill, bad tie-in book that ties into, hopefully, what'll be a much better story. So would I recommend this? No. Not to anyone, really. Like, if you're not a fan of Far Cry, then you're just gonna be kind of lost reading this, and the ending will be very unsatisfying. And if you are a fan of Far Cry, and even if you're planning on playing Far Cry 5, you don't really get any new information out of this. You know, it's not interesting, and it doesn't give you any sort of insight into how the characters of the world works. It's just boring, so you can definitely skip this one.